The good, the bad, and the ugly. Well, he's not ugly. He's not bad. So I'm guessing you're kind of claiming to be good.
I wasn't claiming any of them, but I'll take that.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, John. I'm going to apologize in advance if I descend into a coughing fit. I am getting over a bit of a cold, so I will do my best for that to not happen, and to sort of get through this on time. I want to take you on a bit of a journey from aspiration to disappointment, which sounds like fun, right? I went with the movie title. I spent a lot of years in movie rating. A probably slightly more accurate title, though, would have been The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, and the Good. So there is a more optimistic note to look forward to. You might be looking forward to the ugly, but I don't know. Some of you will know me. I know a lot of you won't. As just mentioned, I'm a former regulator, which is how I've known John. I worked for 20 years for the UK's other media regulator, the significantly smaller but much cooler British Board of Film Classification. And so, yes, I rated a lot of films, but I also did a lot of work with pornography. And for most of those years, I was responsible for managing the regulation of pornography, including work with Ofcom on that. And so it was in that position in 2016 with the British Board of Film Classification that I started working with the UK's Department for Culture, Media and Sport on the latter stages of drafting what was then the Digital Economy Bill, which some of you may remember as the predecessor to the Online Safety Act. The Digital Economy Act, as it became in 2017, introduced an age verification regulator in the UK for the first time, and it required adult platforms to carry age verification no matter where in the world they were based, as we have now with the Online Safety Act. The BBFC became that age verification regulator, and I was tasked with leading the implementation of that work. So my experience, my delving into the world of age verification goes back. It's the best part of a decade. Of course, now, Web Group Czech Republic is the operator of Xvideos. Within the same umbrella, we have X and XX as well. And so I'm very much in a position of having experienced the age verification requirements on both sides. Now, I didn't really know age verification, the industry particularly well at all, when I started doing the work in 2017 as the regulator. But I soon got to know a lot more, and there's at least one person in the room. I worked very closely with the AV industry, and they were partners, really, in the work that we did. We were a much smaller regulator. We were a tiny team compared with the Ofcom's current approach. But what I did know, well, I didn't know age verification. What I did know very clearly was the objective of the Digital Economy Act, which was to better protect children in the online space. I say better protect, not absolutely protect. More on that in a bit. At the time, I had a 3-year-old daughter, and I was genuinely grateful to be working on something which I believed, by the time she got to the age that statistics tell us that children are most likely to be exposed to adult content, below the age of 18, obviously, that we were working on something which would better protect her generation. She's 11 now. We're still working on it. But the good is the acceptance of measures to better protect children online. The will to act in the interests of better protecting children online. I don't want to say the argument's been won. There are a lot of other territories. There's a lot of work still to be done. There are a lot of critics still. But how we respond, how we act, that's, even if we're not debating like places like the UK, whether we need to do something, how we do it is still an ongoing debate. I think still, the good. Xvideos, we currently have 3 different hash lists with 3 different partners to help better detect CSAM, child sexual abuse material. biggest team, moderation team, works on that every day with AI as well. I'm genuinely pleased to say that we have just very recently finished the implementation of a hash list to help detect non-consensual intimate image abuse. I'm expecting that we will do the final check just to kind of make sure everything is working as it should with the partner NGO next week. And then that will be sort of fully signed off and up and running. It is notoriously hard for adult sites. It's notoriously hard for regulators. I can say this, watching porn as a regulator for many, many years. It's notoriously hard to detect a lack of consent in some circumstances. Having tools and NGOs, this is a good thing. And we do continue to work with NGOs, other NGOs, because there are other tools available which can be deployed and which can be better used. Deterrence messaging is a good example. Again, these are very good things. And with the move from the Digital Economy Act to the much broader Online Safety Act, the inclusion of social media it's a sort of a bit of a game changer, really, because it's not that, okay, adult content, that's where, it's age inappropriate for children, that goes without saying, but harm risks to children on social media a decade ago were largely ignored. I think that move has been a really positive thing in this space, and the continued work on that is, going to continue to serve children well. But having controls is not in itself the final answer. It's not any controls that are good enough. And this takes us to the bad. A lot of you will have heard the phrase, and some of you will have used it, I sure have, many, many times. Age verification is not a silver bullet. We have to start somewhere. And it's a personal favorite. Don't let perfect, sorry, better if I say it properly. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Now, these comments are all true. But where can they potentially take us? Especially when the good is quite relative. It risks being prepared to accept an approach which is not as good as it needs to be. It risks deploying controls in a way which can prove ineffective. It potentially risks counterproductive measures. And I'm not saying that age assurance is an effective part of the solution. If we mean for children to be better protected from age-inappropriate material, attempts to prevent children accessing it by introducing an age gate is an obvious and logical approach. It's a long-standing approach offline, of course. It's a long and I think pretty successful track record in the UK for gambling sites. But gambling sites also have KYC and AML requirements, and an expectation, especially with a financial transaction, that more information will be shared. So it's much easier to take people through that journey. And the same is simply not true of people's use of free online pornography. I was at a conference not that long ago where a representative of the European Commission used an analogy, which is a good analogy, I like it, comparing the online world to the traditional village square. It's a European analogy. I guess if we're in the UK, maybe it'd be the traditional village pub. But basically, where we go to socialize, to shop, share, communicate. And that consequently, regulation is not just a good thing. It's appropriate and necessary to regulate behavior in a way that would be more natural in a village square and unaccepted otherwise. But I was talking with the representative afterwards, and I suggested, as much as I like the analogy, it doesn't really work for online pornography. There are exceptions. Of course, there can be an exception. But generally speaking, the use of pornography is not village square type of activity. And it cannot be effectively regulated in the same way as social media platforms where people build communities, friends and family share and communicate. And it's not easy to simply switch to a different platform to continue the same activity as you might have done yesterday. The same isn't true of free adult platforms. A user might have a preference for one website over another. Maybe they like the menu options or some of the other features. But given potential friction, the loyalty for one site over another is not that high. If another platform they know or which might offer similar choices and content is available, it's likely they'll switch, and we've seen that in some territories. Of course, if similar sites aren't freely available, and we may see some adoption of age verification, we've seen that too. But what have we had in the UK then since July 25th last year? Xvideos, X and XX switched on age verification, and it continues to be on. Many of you will have heard ALO citing a 70% drop in traffic following the requirement for age verification. We haven't had, it's not as high as that, it's round numbers, it's not so dramatically different. But these kind of curious statistics, I know it's also being questioned. In particular, it doesn't account for VPN use, it doesn't really speak to the percentage of children within that drop of traffic, and these are fair qualifications. And they're unknowns. How many UK users access the platform via a VPN? We can't be sure. How many might be children? We don't know. We don't have that data. Not unless we ask every user their age and location and expect them to answer honestly. We don't collect data like that. I don't think anyone would want us to. But I'm confident that children right now in the UK cannot easily view pornography on Xvideos. If anyone's been following what options are available on the platform, you may be interested. It's easy to check and see. We have age estimation with a fallback on digital ID. We have credit card. Facial age estimation is by far the most popular. We tried mobile, but it didn't really work for us. That's not a critique of mobile. It's just probably a lot of user behavior and how that worked or didn't work, and whether people used phones that weren't their primary phone, or they had a fallback, or it wasn't an age verified phone. I know there were different ways to do that, but that was certainly our experience. We offered digital ID quite early on. Again, it's a good method. There are lots of good products available. It can be easy, privacy preserving, but not enough people, we found, actually had one already. And if they were required to create one, part of that process, then we have drop off. So, it's not, I'm not commenting on the quality of solutions. These were just our experiences. And so we cut back on what's available. If you check the website, you'll see. We have many more age checks than we do users. I'm not sure that was conventional thinking back in the day, or even for Ofcom early in the sort of experience. You have a number of users, you age verify them, and then you've got your user base that's age verified. I work like that because we have a lot of repeat visitors, of course, and if they don't choose to create an account, which is an option for them with our age verification provider, then they will go through that repeat visit. So we do many more age checks than we have users. And in some jurisdictions, we have to do that, which is not necessarily efficient. Does it increase the privacy risks because there's more flow of data? Perhaps. But these are actually, in reality, technical, relatively small regulatory imperfections. They're not really the problem because these can all be fixed. And this takes us to the ugly. We'll try and keep a check on time. I think we're doing okay. And I'm not, at this point, going to be criticizing Ofcom. If you read between the lines, honestly, I'm not. They've been, I think, pragmatic, flexible. I think they've been helpful. We have a good relationship and good dialogue with the team that I've worked with. But for reasons I will suggest, the Online Safety Act has not necessarily given Ofcom all the tools or enough of the flexibility that they need. Ofcom have claimed, and I've heard them claim this a couple of times in the context of Online Safety Act success, that all of the top 100 sites in the UK are compliant, present tense. Now, I don't know where they got their top 100 from. I have asked, they didn't answer. I'm guessing, because I don't think they would have said it if it wasn't based in reality, that's probably the middle of last year. But in August of last year, after the introduction of age verification on the 25th of July, and I've checked this regularly, 5 of the top 10 results for a Google search for porn did not have age verification controls. In early February, 6 out of the top 10 returns for a Google search, and free porn was the Google search, were not compliant. 60% of the top 10. On Sunday, and I was toying with checking this again this morning, but I didn't want to do it on the hotel Wi-Fi. The same search, simply for free porn, gave me 7 non-compliant sites in the top 10. Google search on my phone, I did not have to scroll. There was non-compliant, freely accessible porn with a single click, no scrolling. And that gave me multiple thumbnails of explicit hardcore. That was 1 of 7 in the top 10 returns. Quite brilliantly, it almost made me laugh. It's not really funny. Felt like kind of like the old days. One of the sites popped up. You won't be able to see this clearly. Nice Google logo. Looks quite, like it could be legitimate. I've got 2 viruses been detected on my iPhone. It's been infected and damaged. If I don't act quick, it's going to corrupt my SIM card. That hasn't happened yet because obviously I closed it because it's nonsense. But I know that. But does a kid know that their iPhone hasn't just been infected? So not only is there now 70% non-compliance in the top 10 results in the UK for searching porn, it's now including phishing and what will almost certainly put viruses on someone's phone if they try to fix their phone using that link. If Ofcom's 100% compliance claim is based, as it must be, on historical rankings, it suggests that 7 of the top 10 current ranking sites were out of the top 100 in July last year. It is a very real, very live example of the whack-a-mole problem that should come as no surprise. It was entirely predictable, and it was predicted. Today, here in the UK, in the absence of parental controls, or potentially Apple's recent update, coming on to that, if reliant solely on age verification protections under the Online Safety Act, any child can still freely access explicit pornography with the simplest of searches and a single click. That's not good enough. That is not what we were promised, and it's not where we should be 9 months on from the introduction of age verification. We have to start somewhere. It's not a silver bullet. It will take time, but we're not where we need to be. It's not clear to me that anyone really knows how many adult sites there are. Around 2017, different role. We speculated. I often used the number about 4 million, 4.5 million. Maybe true, maybe not. Could be fewer, could be more. It would change every day. There is essentially an endless pipeline of freely available porn from July last year until now, and the level of non-compliance is not going down, it is increasing in terms of top rankings. Sorry, Ricardo, was that a question? No. Nope. There's a lot of talk about VPNs, circumvention. The ugly truth is that in the UK today, children don't need to circumvent. They don't need a VPN. They don't need to spoof age verification if it's even possible. They just need to search for it and watch it. Sadly, it doesn't matter how quick, easy, reliable, privacy-preserving, cost-effective any age verification system is, the current site-based control for free porn platforms simply creates an opportunity which will continue to be exploited at the expense of child protection. But I did promise to end on a more optimistic note. And before you think I'm suggesting the solution, I'm not. But as you know, just a few weeks ago, Apple introduced its iOS update with the requirement to age verify. I, of course, updated my phone quite keenly. I did not age verify, not straight away, because I wanted to try it out. And if you've done this, then you'll know, and apologies if I'm telling you what you already know, but if you don't have an Apple phone, if you're from outside the UK, if you haven't tried this, then using the Safari browser, the native Safari browser on Apple, and my search for free porn, returned nothing. Actually, what it returned were some Christian-based sites on how to control porn addiction. Maybe that's helpful. Historical, sort of career-based things. What was also interesting, because I went to Google Images, was searching for porn there. There were no porn returns on Google Images on the Safari browser. Now, okay, that's Apple Safari browser. I had Chrome. I tried Chrome as well. Somebody said to me, well, it won't work on Chrome. Okay, Chrome, free porn, search, I got results. True, I got results. I could see websites. I clicked on those. This website is not available. Very clear message, this website is not available. These controls cannot be disabled. And I could not disable those controls. I could not access that website. I could see the website, but I couldn't get to it. Google Images, there were images. Clicking on the images, again, I couldn't get to any websites. I couldn't get to more. Now, that's just Apple. Of course, there are gaps, but as a more comprehensive approach to sites that will never comply. They will never be knocking on your door asking for your age verification solutions. Not interested. They only want to operate in an unregulated space and can take advantage of it. Now, if it sounds like I think adult platforms should dodge their responsibility and pass the buck, that is not where I come from. But if we truly mean to better protect children online, we have to do that in a way which is most effective, and at the very least, the most effective it can be. What we saw with Apple is not the whole of the solution. But I would say what we saw with Apple, for me, is a game-changing start to how we reassess how we better protect children in this space. And as people that work in this space, certainly people like me and John maybe, we have to keep working because we have not solved the problem yet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Murray, for that utterly depressing presentation. So anybody would like a question or wants to make a comment? The whole point about VPNs is contested. I mean, much of what you've said is contested in terms of the data, but it's certainly the British Parliament is hot on the trail, and without we need good data. It doesn't exist. They're going to have to originate the research to collect it because it hasn't been systematically collected before. There's never been a reason for doing that, but certainly in relation to the use of VPNs, certainly in relation to children dodging the filters, there has been research done on that on Ofcom before. I mean, years ago, long before this was done. But you know, picture the scene. You're a researcher talking to kids. Can you beat the parental control systems that your parents have put on your machine? Oh yeah, of course I can. I know. My parents know nothing. I know everything. I'm trying to mimic a Cockney accent, by the way, not easy for a Yorkshireman. I can get round it. The truth is they don't. It's not true. It's not true. Or rather, the percentage of kids who know how to beat the system and then go on to do it is tiny. It's minute. You're never going to get 100%, but it's certainly in the industries and various other interests to project this idea that it's all hopeless because kids are super smart and can get around anything, but it's not true. Anyway, this is a hotly contested space. There will be more research done on it because it's essential. Nobody wants a law that doesn't work. Nobody wants a law that doesn't work.
John, I'd sort of just add to the point on parental controls because they get dismissed very easily. They get dismissed because parents don't understand them, because, as you say, kids can get around them. And this is not a suggestion, well, we should be doing parental controls, not age assurance. But parental controls are much more comprehensive, at least in terms of what they block. And so, you know,
my point was that the suggestion that you can get around age assurance and age verification and things of that kind sounds a bit like the old point about how easy it was to circumvent parental controls, which simply wasn't true. Or if it happened, it wasn't happening on anything like a significant scale. We're never going to get nothing on the internet works 100% all of the time. It has to be, as you said, it has to be good enough, has to work to a high enough level and a high enough standard. And I'm absolutely certain that age verification, age assurance is part of that solution. Absolutely, no question. And it will work well enough